apparently it happens in a lot of car crashes, and I guess the force goes through your shin or your knee, and then it pushes your femur out of your hip socket or whatever. So how I did that on a big over the bars, I have no idea. But I just remember, over the bars and then landing and then feeling the hip pop out and then laying there in excruciating pain. And then the next rider jumped. And I think he crashed or somehow he just like landed straight on me and has moved me. I remember like that was when it was definitely the worst pain I've ever felt, just like having my hip out and then fully move. It was pretty shit, but it wasn't like that sort of knocked me around. It was the fact that once I got to Inverness and in the hospital, they I think my hip was out for like 9 hours or something, pretty gnarly. And then they knocked me out and they put it back into place, and I woke up feeling pretty good. It's like the first time I've woken up from anaesthetic and felt better than when I went in. So it was pretty good feeling once that. But yeah, just the 6 weeks in traction in a bed just like fully knocked me around mentally. And yeah, that was just like watching the hour go by for 6 weeks is pretty tough.
Because in traction means you're not moving at all, right? Because you can't move your hip, otherwise it just disturbs everything. Yeah,
so just a weight on a pulley pulling my left leg sort of away from and just on my back, and it was pretty gnarly.
So just want to jump back to something you said it was out for 9 hours. Is that because it took 9 hours for you to get from the track to the hospital?
Yeah, so they
Fuck.
I'm pretty sure there was a heap of crashes, and there was some really gnarly ones. So the chopper was busy, so they couldn't fly me to Inverness, and they didn't want to do I think you call it a reduction or whatever, in the local hospital at Fort William. So I pretty much went there, got my scans done at the local hospital, and then they had to wait for an ambo to come from Inverness into Fort Bill, then take me out there, and then they had to get a doctor who was going to do the hip reduction. But it was like 9 hours by the time they finally put it back in.
Kind of reminds me of that whole Brooke McDonald story. Like that's like a fairly big deal to be in that much pain for 9 hours.
Yeah.
Were you definitely over it by then? For sure, right?
Oh yeah, like the pain or
just being like in that position, like just 9 hours for waiting to see what happened.
They would just give me every drug they could, and so I was like on a pretty good high.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could still definitely feel it. But yeah, I was just more worried the damage it's going to do for being out that long, like long term and stuff like that. I just wanted to get the thing back in.
Oh, for sure. Just get someone to pull on it.
Yeah, exactly. Give it a yank.
So how did you mentioned like it was pretty mentally draining to be in traction for 6 weeks. How did you kind of deal with that? Like, can you do anything?
Well, I think the only way I got through it was the fact that I thought I could be going home tomorrow. Like every day I was like, tomorrow's the day. And thankfully my mum come over, and I like against my order, I thought I'd be home in a week. So I was like, don't worry, it's all good. But she ended up flying over just out of nowhere a week later or something. So she got me through it. She bought me food and she helped organise all my paperwork. And without that, like, I feel like I'd still be there. Like, it was so hard to get the paperwork through to my insurer, the doctor, and then the airline, and then just coordinate it through everyone. It was a frigging mission.
That's a whole, because the injury is like the easy part when you're in hospital. Like, it's healing, right? But you got to deal with that paperwork. Yeah, and
it's never ending. And I remember, so that was basically what kept me going, was thinking that tomorrow could be the day. And then after 5 weeks, I remember speaking to people on the World Cup circuit, like they were asking me how I'm going, and they were like, they'd done like 3 or 4 other races, so they were on the other side of the world, and they were like, "What are you still doing in Scotland?" Like, it was pretty weird. But after 5 weeks, we sent all that paperwork off. Everything was done,
and
I think they had Ramadan or some shit in what's it called? Somewhere. What am I thinking?
India.
They had Ramadan holiday in Dubai, wherever they have it.
Oh
Yeah. So
yeah,
that ended up pushing back.
Could be anywhere.
I flew with Dubai or something. I'm pretty sure Ramadan pushed back. It was like their public holiday, and it ended up being like another week. I had to wait for them to sign off on all the paperwork. It was something like, it was so bad. So that was that was the hardest thing, because I'd been 5 weeks and then thinking tomorrow I'm going to go home, and then I get told 1 more week until you can go. It's just like, just ruined me.
How did you fly? Like, obviously you can't, like 6 weeks, it's not healed, right?
They what did they do? They sent 2 doctors from Sydney. They flew them over, and then they got an ambo for me, and they drove me to Edinburgh with the 2 doctors and my mum, and then got into the tarmac, and then they lifted me. All these guys carried me on a stretcher, and they I guess they put like 6 seats down in the back of the plane, and then they had this medical stretcher that they sit on top. And then they sat me on there, and that's how I flew home. I just had some sleeping pills, and away I went.
Imagine if you didn't have insurance for all that, because that just sounds like dollar bills going through the till.
Well, honestly, like that's probably why CA insurance premiums went up the next year, because my bill was a couple of $100,000, no doubt.